All right, Sarah, I'm so excited to have you in the Network Series Facebook group. So excited to have you here. So I sent out an email a couple weeks ago or months ago, I can't even remember now, about Girl in Space podcast. And I got so many responses from my readers that I thought we'd have you in for a quick interview into my Facebook group. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited and honored that you featured Girl in Space. That just means the world to me. Thank you.
It is so good. And if we're being frank, so I followed you for a while. I was on your podcast years ago and love it and still am part of it. But I was on your email list and I saw the Girl in Space stuff start to come out. And I'll be honest, is what first grabbed me is that picture of Girl in Space, like the logo. Let's see if I can pull up and show everyone. Who did you have do that? Did you pay someone to do that, or did you do that yourself?
I made that in Canva.
No, you didn't. Really?
I started off with like no budget, and I was like, well, I'm doing everything myself, so we'll just put some text over a pretty picture of space, and that'll be my logo. Moving on.
I'm going to share my screen. I'm pretty sure it should show if I can remember how to do this. Okay, you guys, I'm going to show you Girl in Space. We're just on the Zoom call. You can see my 8 billion tabs.
Woo!
Check this out. I didn't know you did that yourself. And I was like, what is this picture? I want this story so bad.
So I get all my free photos. I don't know if you want this to be like a DIY sort of training session, but I get all my free photos from a site called Unsplash, UNSPLASH. Yes. And it's fantastic.
Yes. Oh, well, it's just beautifully done. So that's what really grabbed me. And I love your tagline, a podcast about a girl in space. Like in space. Right. So this is what happened to me. I started listening. I was like, oh, I'm going to see what Sarah's up to. I started listening, and within 10 minutes, I was like, what is this story? Like, I could not stop listening. So I subscribed. I was listening every day. And there were days when I would hop in my car to drive around with my kids or something, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, there's got to be a new episode of Girl in Space, because I just so need to be transported while I'm driving with my kids screaming in the background. So luckily there always was when I really needed it. Good. And I would listen, and it's so good. And what I love about Girl in Space is she's an unlikely heroine, right? Like,
yes.
Oh, so tell us a little bit about it real quick.
Yeah, so like you said, Girl in Space is the story of a girl in space. I made it really simple.
Yeah. Beautifully straightforward that way.
Exactly. It makes it really easy to pitch. They're like, what's your show about? And I'm like, well, it's right there in the title.
Girl in Space.
But basically, sort of the scene opens up. There is a space station. There's a young woman aboard the space station. She is alone, or at least you think she's alone. You're not sure what happened to the rest of her crew or why she's there. All you know is that there is a light coming steadily toward her. And then I do like jazz hands.
This is your in-person presentation.
The jazz hands really works. Yeah, but it's the story of this young woman as she navigates these different challenges that happen, which is like super vague, but I also don't want to spoil it. I don't want to tell people what the light coming toward her is. But she's put into a lot of new situations, and I really wanted this to be a look at what happens when we meet challenges in life, and how can we do that in a way that's fun and invigorating and interesting and provides a degree of escapism while also being realistic. So I had fun playing. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands here, but I had fun playing around with that.
It helps. It conveys it for sure. So there's so many fascinating elements about Girl in Space.
Thank you.
Mostly too, because it's the first audio drama I think I'd ever listened to, and it's a podcast. So it's a free audio drama, right? I was like, I can't believe this is free. This is so good. So it's so immersive, right? Because you have the sounds in the background that's like, she's recording a lot of it into like a recorder. So she's kind of recording her thoughts as she's talking. And sometimes it's a little bit crackly. Like there's a level of detail that is stunning. And that I think really creates that escapist element that you mentioned, where it's like, I feel like I'm in the Kavatica, which is the ship's name, right? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I have 6 children, and I just got back from Disneyland, so my brain is a little bit scrambled. So I feel like I'm in the Cavatica with her, and I'm like out in space, and it's this whole new world, which is really interesting because I'm a fantasy author. I'm not a science fiction author. And I think that is why I felt like my audience would still love it so much, because the technology and everything that happens is advanced to the point where it's like, this feels like magic to me. It feels like this new world I want to be part of. How was that for you to produce, like with all of those details and those sounds and all of that?
That's such a good question. I don't know if anybody has asked, weirdly, like I do a lot of, I don't know if anybody's asked me that before, but it was like well, thank you. It was like an extension of writing in a way, because I'd never written a script before. And so I was like, oh, this is just mostly dialogue. How can I make this more immersive? And it's basically like an audiobook, but like you said, it has sound effects, it has music, it has character voices, it has explosions, it's got all the stuff. And so it was really interesting. It felt a little bit more like I was writing like a movie script or a play than anything else. And then I sort of taught myself sound design. And so I didn't really know going in what that looked like. And I was like, okay, so I need a sound here of somebody setting down a mug. And so I had to like look up like, oh, are there Foley effects for this? And if not, then okay, I'm going to sit here and record myself setting my mug down several times.
Yeah, I'm setting down my mug.
So it was just like a weird, like, it was just like a weird sort of add-on to the writing process, because you're creating like a physical atmosphere for something that usually takes place in people's imaginations.
That's what I mean, like the decisions that went into that. It always fascinates me when I'm listening, like, why did Sarah decide to do this sound or this person to be this character? Because you also have the different characters, you have voice actors for them, and they're so well done. Like, I felt like they had just the right attitude in the right places, and I felt like there were so many little decisions you had to have made, and I probably appreciate this because I'm an author too, that you had to make to create this experience to like take people away and get them into this new world. That well done, sister.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're teaching yourself is insane.
That's what we do though. That's what we were talking about. Like, we're creatives. We're going to make stuff and challenge ourselves and have fun doing it. So,
we were talking before we started recording about how we're creative visionaries run amok. Making problems for ourselves, but we can't stop.
So many problems.
So good. It's such good stuff. Well, that's awesome. So I see a NaNoWriMo poster behind you, and I have to ask if you're working on season 2 as part of NaNoWriMo.
So I have a confession to make, and that is I signed up for NaNoWriMo this year with all the intentions of creating season 2 of Girl in Space. And like, if you go out to my profile, it's like, I'm writing season 2 of Girl in Space. Yeah. And then you look at my word count and it's 0. And
like, maybe.
This is so hard, because I feel like for writers, a lot of our identity is tied up in things like NaNoWriMo. So I'm sure that most of you listening know what that is. It's National Novel Writing Month. It's November 1st through 30th, and you try to write an entire 50,000 word novel in 30 days. And it is a challenge, to say the least.
It's like 3,000 words a day, right? Typically.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And it's like, it's really fun and exciting, and I've done it before, but I had to make a hard decision this year. I have some other projects going on that would, help me to make money and live, because I'm self-employed. I write full-time. Well, I create stuff full-time, and my husband is also self-employed and writes and creates full-time. And so it was like, well, okay, this is not the right time for this. I can't do NaNoWriMo this year, and I had to tell myself, and that's okay. But I have done it before, and it's been an amazing challenge. And if you're doing it right now, dear listener, no, okay.
I'm not. My listeners aren't me. I'm not.
Well, if you're doing it right now, good luck, and I hope you're enjoying it. Overall, I hope you're enjoying the experience, because that's really what it's all about. So
I think it's one of those awesome things that try it once, and if you loved it and it drove you and motivated you, get at it. But sorry, my husband is crawling on the floor behind me. To those who didn't know, he just finished working out, doesn't have a shirt on. So I told him if he wanted to buy, he had to crawl, and he took me seriously. Sorry.
That is awesome.
So, but now actually can put pressure on people that just isn't necessary. So yeah, it's one of those things, like, feel it out, try it, feel it out, see how it works for you. I did it twice, just because I loved, like, my writing group was doing it and it was really fun at the time. But then it's, as a professional novelist, you have to write that much all the time anyway, if you can. And you also have other stuff going on. So if you're writing that, then to do that is just too much. So my husband got out of the military, and he's like, his employment's kind of been up and down as we're figuring out what life looks like for him. So I've tried to take over some of the torch, but as a self-employed creative entrepreneur,
yes,
extremely unstable and very difficult. So I can appreciate having two of that. That would be challenging. You kind of got to go with what works best.
Yeah. Yes.
Totally. Well, back to Girl in Space.
Yeah.
So tell me your favorite thing about the podcast.
Oh gosh, my favorite thing about
That's a hard question.
That's a very hard question. And it's also like, so I live in the Midwest where you don't like talk about yourself because it's bragging, and it's like, oh, well, I don't know. My show's okay, I guess. I don't know.
Brag away, Sarah. Let it go.
I love what the show has done. Like, I love that people have reacted to it in the way that they have. I love that this community has grown up around it. That was really surprising for me. When I started this story, I was like, well, I'm just going to tell this story, and if people connect with it, that's fine. And if they don't, at least I'm telling this story. And like, people like went a little crazy about it.
Yeah.
And that was really, I guess, I don't know if the word I want to use is validating. It was incredibly validating, but it was also really amazing to see what a story can do when other people sort of place their hearts into it. When they, and I don't know if I'm even saying this the right way, but I've gotten fan mail and fan art, and people saying, like you said, I listen to the show in the car so I can calm down, so that I can relocate myself.
Right. Yeah. Just like recenter. Like, I need to go somewhere in my brain while I drive and my kids scream in the background. And I just need to not be here for a minute so that I can recharge and then be present for my kids. That's what it was for me. It's like, if I can listen to Girl in Space, it'll give me a second to recharge, because story recharges me. And then I can be present for my family or go do the hard thing that my day requires. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of that was intentional. Like, some of that I was very intentional about creating. When I went into the show, I wanted to make a place that was safe. And I know a lot of stories really thrive on danger and challenge and peril, but I didn't want to tell that kind of story. So I wanted to tell like a slow burn mystery, where you could listen and it wouldn't be hard to listen to.
Yeah.
So, and like, the best way I can talk about that is, I have a lot of anxiety. And like, when I read like a Cormac McCarthy novel, I'm just like, I can't handle this experience.
You're so stressed. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And there's like an emotional investment or an emotional offering that I have to give to the book while I'm reading it. And it's a hard experience. And so I was like, I want to make something that's fun and loving and entertaining. So like, there's still tension and there's still a story going on, but it's also affirming. It's also a place that you can escape to and feel warm and good, and there's humor, and there's characters who love each other. There's a sense of found family, there's warmth, and that I tried to put that in there intentionally, just because so much other sci-fi is hard, it's scary, it's isolationist, it's very low on hope. And I wanted to like give people a place of like, yes, there is hope, there is beauty, there is goodness. Please lose yourself in this world where beautiful, good things can happen. So that's kind of what I wanted to create. And I think that's part of why I've gotten a good response from it, is because I think people need a safe place to escape to.
Totally. And that's why we have jobs, right?
Yeah.
That's why people want books, is because they need to escape. I do that all the time, So I so appreciate that, like, you have such a heartfelt center in this. Like, you just really want to provide that. And it shows. Like, I think that's why so many people respond to it and love it. So I will, just to kind of close this out, like totally affirm everything you just said, because Girl in Space was that to me more. And it's just funny because I was nervous at first, like, should I share like a sci-fi story with my fantasy readership? But it's so much more than sci-fi. I mean, sci-fi is almost just the environment. The story is about a girl in a really difficult circumstance, and she stays true to herself somehow, but she's on board the ship in space. So it's like, it's really hard.
Almost like science fiction fantasy. Like it almost does, because there's a version of a hero's journey that she goes through. There are sort of magical elements. One of the weird things about writing in sci-fi is that you get people like emailing you and asking about how this works. And I was like, I don't know, it's in the future. They've invented that by now. So in a way, there's like magical elements as well. There's
well, science fiction actually has an element of magic in that the technology becomes so advanced it's akin to magic, right? Like, exactly. I don't know, it just works.
It just works.
But you created just such a lovely world aboard the Kavatica. So right now, season 1 is totally done, and you're working on season 2.
Yes.
So anyone watching or listening to this can go get season 1 podcast for free. Yeah. But you're also on Patreon. So I support her on Patreon because she works so hard for all this. I encourage all of you to go give her $1 a week or a month or whatever to support the Girl in Space stuff. And you even have really cool merch, right? Like you've got merch.
Thank you. Yeah.
Love that. It's one of my Christmas gifts. Don't you have t-shirts?
I do. I have t-shirts. I have mugs. I'm looking around right now.
I'm sending the link to my husband to buy me something for Christmas.
Yay! Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
Because I love the artwork. I just love everything about this so much. And more importantly, I just love that I can tell people to go to this and they get the experience they're looking for. They get that sense of courage and the unlikely hero that really comes through and stays true to herself. So we won't say anything else about the story because it's really something you have to discover yourself and the main character. And I'm just going to say the main character and not reveal anything else about names or anything. Because that too, I was like, what's going on? So it's so good. But thanks for being here today.
Yeah.
And, so excited to have you and so excited for what's coming for Girl in Space. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.